I forgot to say this. I also am suggesting this connection between indigestion and hunger cues, or what we think are hunger cues, for anybody out there who also struggles with overeating. Because I certainly do. I am such a volume eater, but that's partially, I think, because I've been trained to associate satisfaction with my full stomach being distended. Hello and welcome back to another segment of A Random Thought While I'm Driving. Thank you for joining me. If you've been on my channel for any length of time, you can tell that I really enjoy talking about food because it's been such a deep part of my emotional and physical well-being and history. And I'm constantly figuring things out and making connections and then remaking different connections too. So this is another connection that I made today. It just reinforced some things. I wager that I am probably not your average gal in this regard. The majority of people, I think, don't have the same problem that I do, or at least maybe not in the way that I have it. So I, for a very long time, I think probably my whole life, have mistaken indigestion and digestive pain with hunger. Because it feels like a gnawing, clawing sensation, similar to what hunger used to feel like for me when I was a kid. And because there are certain foods that create that indigestion and gnawing and clawing sensation, I think I developed a habit of trying to smother that feeling by just eating more. Either by eating more of the same food or different foods that tend to soothe. So, for me, pretty much for as long as I can remember, fresh vegetables were just the worst. My mom even grew a fresh vegetable garden outside, and she wasn't even weird with it. It was stuff like green beans, lettuce, spinach, tomatoes even. And I mean, it makes sense. Her dad was a farmer growing up, and she loved fresh vegetables. So that was like her jam. She could down them all day long. A lot of her meals growing up were stuff from the garden, and maybe cheese or maybe some meat on the side of it, but largely it was the garden that fueled her growing up. When she tried to get me to do it, I hated it. I always hated the taste of fresh green beans. I would rather have had canned green beans. I always disliked when she would try to make us cooked bell peppers, the stuffed kind that have like the beef in the middle and the cheese on top. I would do anything to not have to eat the pepper itself because I didn't like it. So there were just so many segments of my life that I remember being like, I don't like the taste of fresh vegetables. I think if I'm digging back into my memory, I don't think it was just a taste thing. I think I always didn't like the way I felt when I would eat a fresh vegetable. I remember fast forwarding in high school that I would try and stay awake because I'd classic procrastinator. I wouldn't do my homework when I got home from school, so I would do it late at night. And because I had an early morning seminary class at like 6:30 in the mornings, I would try and keep myself awake. And the way that I would do it would be by eating something crunchy, and usually it was baby carrots. And I remember just going through a whole bag of baby carrots and feeling like I'm never satisfied. I'm still hungry. Really, that sensation of being hungry was just like, I feel uncomfortable, and like there's a gnawing sensation in my stomach. And there were several points in my life that I can remember. It's the same story. It just would be, because it's something that's fresh vegetable, and I would just feel a clawing sensation. I also felt that way when I went into college, had a health class, and they talked about having refined grains are not as good for you as those that have whole grains in them. So I started to eat things like whole wheat pasta, whole wheat bread, whatever I could afford, And when I'd have those, I would feel so much more unsatisfied than when I would have just the regular refined grains. It made me more uncomfortable the more roughage there was. And not to go into too much detail because you didn't sign up for that in this video, suffice it to say that my digestive history has always been funky. There's always been a persistent problem that I've had to deal with. And so I noticed that the addition of some of these foods would create problems for me. They wouldn't help me, it would hinder me. And it's not until a few years back when I decided to switch to eating all meat that I was disoriented, because I didn't know what it was like to feel full without feeling bloated and the gnawing sensation in my stomach. I was used to that. That's what you expect. But here I'd have meals that would be like a full bowl of ground beef. I wouldn't be hungry anymore, and I wouldn't be bloated, and I wouldn't be in pain. And I was really confused, because in my mind, that's how I know I'm full, is that I am in pain and then I'm bloated. And when those things were missing, and yet I could still experience satiation, that just blew my mind that was even possible. So I haven't been like the most dogmatic, rigid person when it comes to eating carnivore. I think I stuck to it for maybe 10 months, and then I started to dip my toes back into some other foods and make like fruit-based shakes and trying to incorporate treats, because I love treats. I love chocolate any chance that I can to try and keep that in my diet. I try to, with knowing that sugar is not my best friend. I try and make my treats as sugarless as I possibly can. But that's been wild for me to reconcile over the past few years, experimenting with when do I get that bloated and gnawing sensation and when do I not. And as far as I can tell, every time that I cook a vegetable, I feel significantly better than when it's fresh. Same thing with fruit. Sauteed apples with a ton of butter on them, I can handle. The vegetable also has to be smothered in some kind of fat. Otherwise, I don't tolerate it well, and I just feel like I want to eat more food to smother the gnawing sensation that accumulates in my stomach and in the rest of my digestive tract as well. So I wanted to point all of this out because today I just like reconnected with that experience, because I tried a new thing a couple days ago, which was sugar-free Jell-O mixed in with coconut yogurt, because I've realized that dairy and I are not simpatico, but I still love the feeling of yogurt, and I love any kind of ice cream substitute that I can get my hands on that doesn't cause me pain. I try and do that. So that's what I've been eating. And because it's a milder reaction than normal, I didn't notice that it was causing the same kind of reaction for me, where I'd had a bowl of ground beef for breakfast. For lunch, I had carne asada. It was just the meat. And then for dessert was this Jell-O and a coconut yogurt mixture. And I had about a half hour between the bowl of beef and the coconut yogurt. Just happened, wasn't on purpose. And I felt a distinct difference between when I had the beef and when I had the coconut yogurt. The coconut yogurt caused that same kind of milder version of the gnawing, clawing, and I just want to keep eating sensation. I don't always pick up on the fact that the reason why I want to keep eating is because I'm in pain. It's just kind of a habitual thing for me. For some reason I just want to put something else in my stomach. That's just kind of what happens. I must be hungry still. That's what the signaling feels like. And it was today that I realized, no, even that causes me a little bit of pain, so I want to keep eating. And because I'm an emotional eater as well, it's just like new level unlocked for me to realize that maybe the way for me to really ensure that I don't overeat is by not eating foods that cause a reaction in me, because otherwise I'll want to just keep stuffing my face to smother the pain that I'm in. So that was wild for me to consider, and I wanted to share that experience with you guys, because like I said in the beginning, I don't think I am common in this regard. I think there are plenty of people out there who really can digest fresh produce, no problem. And they love it and their body loves it and they feel so much better than they did before. I am happy for them. I just don't happen to be one of those people. And maybe if you're also listening to this and this sounds familiar to you, then I just want you to know you're not alone and you're not crazy. That there are other people out there who don't tolerate fresh foods, fresh produce well at all. And I mean, When I say this, I've tried organic, non-organic, homegrown. I grew my own garden in college at one point too. And while the taste of it was so much better, the reactions were still the same. So it's not about organic versus non-organic, pesticide laden. Maybe there's something to do with genetic modification, or maybe it's just all me. Maybe there's either a genetic defect that I have, something to do with my microbiome and its inability to sustain the right kind of bacteria. I don't know. Even though I've experimented heavily on probiotics and switched my diet around for long stints, it's not like I try something for 6 weeks. I try it for 6 months minimum. And the only thing that has ever created an improvement for me is when I go much more meat-based in my food. I forgot to say this. I also am suggesting this connection between indigestion and hunger cues, or what we think are hunger cues, for anybody out there who also struggles with overeating, because I certainly do. I am such a volume eater, but that's partially, I think, because I've been trained to associate satisfaction with my full stomach being distended, which comes with the indigestion from some of the foods that I would have. So if you're out there and you're also struggling to feel satisfied, or you're craving to feel better or to eat certain foods and you're not entirely sure why, I just want to invite you to consider that maybe this is part of it. Maybe you're having a mild intolerance or mild reaction to a certain type of food, and that your response is to say, well, let's just eat some more so that we can smother that feeling and hopefully it'll make us feel better. That's entirely possible. So I wanted to throw that out there just casually for anybody who might be in the same boat. So anyway, if you're out there and you're like this, you're not alone. You're not crazy. And someday we'll figure this thing out and it'll be smooth sailing from here. So thanks for joining me on this little car talk episode, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy eating.